process. Our colleague Patricia Visagie is in Pretoria right now. Let's cross live to her. Patricia, what can you tell us about this story?
Well, good morning, Desiree, and to our viewers. Now, I'm coming to you live at Brooklyn Square. It is a popular restaurant hub here in the heart of the capital city. And you would know that these, of course, restaurants employ hundreds of people, a majority of them, of course, being foreign nationals. Now, most of these workers, the last time they got paid was end of March. Many of them are not getting any other source of income. So devastation is really mounting, frustration is mounting, everybody seeking answers, but it is a frustration that lies square on the shoulders of these owners, as most of the workers, of course, are asking them what is happening, as the workers themselves are obviously not having money at this stage to feed their families. So it's a lot of tension that is really simmering on the ground. So let's speak to Londi Sibanda. He's one of the workers here at the restaurants in the square. Londi, if you can just build a picture for us, how have you been affected? You have not been paid. It's close to 2 months now.
Yes, it's gone for 2 months without getting paid, and the situation is getting a little bit dire. We have no food on the table. I am a general manager at this restaurant. I lead about 40 staff members, and every day they're talking to me, they're wanting food, they want money to pay for their rent, for their school fees, for everything. But basically they don't have anything to eat. So the situation is getting a little bit dire. It's getting very desperate for now.
How have many of you been surviving? It's been almost 2 months now that you have not had salaries. What have you guys been doing to get money so that you can put food on the table, pay your rent, and so forth?
To be honest with you, the last salary was on the 23rd of March. And that food has gone out. And there's family like mine, I've got brothers in Joburg, we're now sharing the little that we have. And I'm starting to wonder what of my staff members are doing now. So it's a very, very problem. It's a big, big issue for us. Yeah, it's a big issue for us. I'm sure I'm asking the government that they can release the UF funds so that you can help those staff members, especially the ones that I'm leading now, because every day they're sending me SMSs. What's happening? When are we getting paid? When are we getting this? So we really appeal to the government that if they can speed up the process so that they can help all the staff members, especially those in the restaurant industry, the foreign nationals, because we've been paying UIF. UIF for the past 7 years. I've got a payment. Personally, I've got a payment. I've been paying UIF every month. In my payslip does state that I pay UIF. So they must just speed up that process so that we get the money, and then we can help feed our families and everything.
All right, okay. Londi Sibanda, he is one of many workers, restaurant workers, who find themselves between a rock and a hard place at this juncture. You would know that the effects of COVID-19 in the country, the lockdown, has had devastation on the economic front in the country, and that goes directly at the heart of course, people's survival and them just being able to look after their families. So let's speak to Andy here, and he is from the Tshwane Tourism Association, the restaurant chapter here. And you've heard what Londi has said, and he's not the only voice, of course. You guys are flooded with perhaps hundreds of queries from workers who are laying their frustrations bare, but it's also causing a lot of tension at this juncture because you don't really have much answers for them.
Thank you, Patricia, and thank you for this opportunity to actually discuss this on air. The Tshwane Tourism Association is a Section 21 not-for-profit company. So we coordinate the private sector. We coordinate through the private sector to promote tourism in the city of Tshwane. The restaurant chapter constitutes approximately 400 plus members in the association. And yes, we're getting calls, we're getting emailed every single day asking whether the UIF is actually going to in fact pay staff. Whilst we do commend at the same time, we do commend this. I mean, these are unprecedented times. These are exceptional circumstances. We really do understand that. At the same time, we also understand the plight of our staff. And this is what this is about. It's not political. We have no political affiliations. It's simply to look after our staff members.
And As the restaurant owners and part of the association, you are directly involved with sourcing the funds from the UIF. Paint a picture. What are the challenges there? Because we've heard complaints nationally of how people are struggling to actually get the necessary help there.
Yeah. Well, at the onset, I mean, it's extremely tough. I mean, this type of job in itself is, like we say, it's exceptional time. So what we actually complained about is that the UIF went and launched a platform for workers and staff to go and have a look online to see whether or not they had in fact been paid. The problem is that the online platform doesn't paint the full picture. And it's actually been quite detrimental in many respects, because what it's done is it shows that various restaurant owners have in fact been paid, when in actual fact it's only been a small portion of what should be paid out to them. And unfortunately, this has had a deleterious effect on both staff and restaurant owners.
And that's where the tensions come in, because if the workers go online and they see that information, they don't know how to process it, they actually think that you're lying as a restaurant owner.
And this is the issue we're sitting with at the moment. Unfortunately, it's such an unfortunate thing. Many restaurant owners have actually had to pay out of their own pockets to keep the staff, to help them. They've been left to fend for themselves, which is really quite sad. Zero income, no prospect of the restaurants even opening after this, because, as we know, lockdown will only be allowed to really open properly after when it reaches level 1. So this in itself is causing heartache, and we really feel sorry. I mean, like we say, restaurant owners have paid out of their own pockets, and that can only last so long. I think there's a picture that's been painted that many restaurant owners, are flush, if I can put it that way, when the reality is so different. And this is a plea purely for staff. And that's what we'd like to get across in this interview.
And it's staff who we know, many of them already have so little, and having not been paid for about 2 months, one can imagine what happens to hundreds of them who are out there.
And it's sad because it has a knock-on effect. As we know in South Africa, I'm not sure the stats exactly, but I know that for every staff member that gets paid here, there's approximately 14 people that rely on his salary or her salary to stay alive, and this is the situation that we're finding ourselves in. Like we said, we're not really aiming this at government. We're not complaining, but we just like to highlight the fact. In fact, it probably would be remiss of us as an association not to bring to the fore the plight of our staff.
If you had to make an appeal to find a solution, perhaps to just cross this bridge, what would that appeal be?
Gosh, I think firstly, just to be a bit more transparent. I think what happens is when there's miscommunication, it's also communicated sometimes through the wrong channels. A lot of the staff are hearing this from various sources, which has become quite problematic. I think if there was to come from one specific source, and a believable source, trustworthy, we'd be able to listen to that call. So from the UIF's perspective, I mean, we like we keep saying, we know it's difficult, we know it's tough, but I think by making the online service available, it's not helping the situation. It's actually causing a rift between the shop owners, because of the tensions that arise. Because if I know that your restaurant has been paid, when in actual fact you've only received a fraction, I don't care. I know that you've been paid. I want my money. I'm dying at home. My staff are saying, we're dying at home. We're dying. Please help us. It's unfortunate.
But let's move a little bit further on. The problem is bigger than that. As restaurant owners, you also feel that perhaps it's a bit unfair that your delivery services are only catering for your traditional takeaway restaurants, but other restaurants are not allowed to utilize those services. Maybe if you can just clarify for us to understand what is the discrepancy there.
Okay, so there's two things here. There's the call deliveries, where people make the call to the shop to come and collect, or actually now they're not allowed to collect, but they get delivered to their houses. That model in itself is a completely different model, business model entirely, to a sit-down restaurant. Sit-down restaurants have been not possibly, have been the hardest affected by this crisis or this pandemic. And if one was to try and say innovate and try and change your business model because this is what's actually happening at the moment, it's very difficult. One can't just pivot overnight and decide tomorrow that you're going to be a call and collect. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't, for example, want a steak to be delivered.
But you've heard complaints from your consumers, people who want to buy food, people who say they come to Brooklyn, for instance, a mall to come and get their other essentials. They hear they could have just picked up a pizza and gone home with it, but they have to drive back home and call, the delivery service and order via that particular platform, whether they could have just, picked up the pizza. It causes a lot of discrepancies, and I've heard a lot of other people complaining about this.
Well, you talk about making things really difficult for people to earn a living. That's exactly that. One of our gripes as an association, and we have raised it with the various government institutions, is that we don't see a difference between buying at a supermarket and then collecting a takeaway on the way out. We don't really see the difference in that. In fact, we can take it as far as to look at the Gazette itself. If we look at the Act 57 of 2002, specifically Part E and Part I, number 2 in that Act, you will note that there is a difference, and this is where there's a fine line between what's actually happening and what should be allowed, and we've had no clarity on that either, because as far as we are concerned, we are actually allowed to deliver according to the law, but yes.
Okay. The other issue, just make it very brief, we have to give back to studio, we've run out of time. The issue of insurance, you're also having trouble there, and that also make it difficult for you to just, keep afloat with your finances.
So a number of our members have raised this question with us, with the association. They're extremely worried. Insurance companies, they're still busy chatting to them, but we've had nothing forthcoming from them, and that's problematic in itself.
All right. Thank you so much. It's really a picture of a bleak economic status for many of the people who are in the restaurant industry. And it's not just a reality here in the capital city. It is a national reality. But it goes to the heart of those who work in these restaurants, the laborers who do not have much to begin with, and not having been paid for about 2 months now, putting pressure on the owners to obviously pay out of their own pockets, and the problems with the UIF that you just heard Andy narrating here, some of the experiences they're having, making things even much more difficult, causing tensions between the restaurant owners and of course the workers. And all they're appealing for is that maybe the UIF system being updated and perhaps to make sure that it is more effective to address some of these challenges before you find a situation where there is even a much more uncontrollable tension between the restaurant owners and of course the desperate workers in the country. I think on that note we'll have to toss it back to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Patricia Visagie there.